Welcome to chapter number 8 on international trade. Trade simply is the buying and selling of goods or the exchanging of goods and services between individuals. But when we are looking at international trade, we are saying that it refers to the exchange of goods and services between countries. So this kind of trade, we are taking it to a higher level where now we involve countries, and we can further classify it into bilateral trade. Bi means two, so bilateral trade will be trade between two countries, and then we have multilateral trade, that is trade between many countries. International trade, we are saying it largely involves importers and exporters. So international trade, when countries are trading, we have a number of advantages that we can be able to derive from this kind of an engagement. Number one is that it enables a country to obtain what she does not produce. Not all countries, of course, have the ability to produce every kind of good that the citizen would want. So what really happens is that people tend to depend on those countries that are able to produce certain goods. Like, for example, the association of Japan with the production of cars is a major market for most countries to be able to source for their cars, especially those that are not able to manufacture their cars. We also have China, known very much for the production of very many items, business items, and you find that most business people will source for their goods in China. And of course, so at a country level now, you need to be able to ask yourself, what is it as a country do you produce? What is it as a country you can produce, and where do you get it from? And that is the essence of international trade. Then it helps in promoting peace among trading countries. So as you trade, it is very important to have peace among those trading partners, because it means that when one country is at war, the other country will not be able to get the goods. It will not be able to get the goods. And the other one is that it enables countries to specialize in production of goods and services for which they have competitive advantage. So you are able to specialize in goods and services. So you become good at producing certain items. And another advantage is that it enables a country to obtain goods cheaply than it can produce. Sometimes the setup of the mechanization to manufacture these goods is definitely an expensive affair. So what countries do, because maybe they cannot be able to afford to set up this kind of industries, they will just decide to depend on others to be able to supply the goods. The other one is it enables countries to get a variety of commodities. So of course, because of international trade now, there is diversity. You can be able to get goods. The other one is that it facilitates transfer of technology from one developed country to less developed ones. The other one is that it enables countries to dispose of its surplus goods. Surplus goods are the goods that are in excess. Surplus goods are the goods that are in excess. And this means that if goods are in excess, then you have the opportunity to release them to go to other countries. You can release them to go to other countries. Then it facilitates the movement, the mobility of factors of production from one country to another. We discussed the factors of production: land, labor. So because of international trade, we do not only move goods, we can also move labor to other countries. The other one is that it enables a country to fully exploit resources due to widened market. The other one is that it promotes employment creation. So job opportunities are able to open because of international trade, because of countries trading together, and finally it enhances economic growth to the trading partners. We have a number of few disadvantages that come about because of international trade. Number one is the acquiring of bad cultural values from trading partners. The other one is over dependence on import, especially on essential goods, can lead to a country to become a slave of foreign produced goods. And the other one is can result into unwanted and harmful products such as hard drugs entering a country. The other one is so on this issue about unwanted and harmful drugs, we have had a lot of issues of people wanting to smuggle drugs, cocaine, heroin into countries, and they use a number of methods to be able to do it. And this, of course, will put them in trouble and will put the country in trouble, because the more drugs that are being smuggled into a country, the more that we will get in trouble in terms of affecting the generation that is within that particular country. The other one is that it can lead to collapse of local industries as people tend to buy imported products. Yeah, so we need some form of protectionism. Even when we encourage international trade, it is not an opportunity for dumping. We cannot open the country for dumping. Dumping means if we overly depend on international trade, the fellas now take advantage and give us goods that are not fit for human consumption. And finally is that a country that relies on imported products may face problems of supply during times of emergency. I have said times of emergency include things like war, and we need to ensure that those situations are minimal or they do not occur, because they are going to affect international trade. Then, as we study international trade, it's also important to study the discussion on trade restriction and protectionism. Remember, we have just said that if international trade is not controlled, then what is going to happen? We are going to have goods being dumped, and also we are also going to have local industries not growing. So in that line, then now we introduce what we call trade protectionism, and we say that protectionism is about the measures aimed at restricting trade, and we have a number of reasons for protectionism. Number one, of course, it is the protection of infant industries. So we want to protect those industries that are coming up, industries within a country. You can imagine as a country, for example, Kenya and other countries, they have their own factories for the manufacture of sugar and other things. But what really happens when we have huge importation of sugar, then what are we doing to our very own local suppliers? We are affecting it. We are killing the suppliers. The other one is a protection of now creation and protection of employment. There is need to protect local industries. So once we protect local industries, the jobs are also protected. We will reduce now the stories of people being declared redundant. We will reduce the stories of people being jobless, because the market has been taken over by items from outside. Then protection of cultural and social values. When people interact, they trade freely, they exchange cultural values. Some of these borrowed cultures may adversely affect a country. And finally, strategic industries protection is necessary for those industries that are extremely important. so that the country searches those providing food and security. Yeah, so it is important to ensure that the protection is very, very important for the industries. Now, we have a number of methods that we can adopt in trade protectionism or restrictions. The first one is tariffs. And we say tariffs is simply the taxes on imports and exports. Yeah, so if we want to protect, then we can be able to increase these tariffs so that we can prevent people from buying from outside. Then we have quotas. Quotas is where we have a restriction on the quantity imported or exported, so we can be able to put a limit on the number. Then we have a total ban. So this one is a complete ban of the products that a country deems that they are not favorable. On a Kenya perspective, we have a famous plant from Meru called Miraa. And what happened? The UK government did a study on Miraa, and they concluded that, according to them, the product is harmful. So what they did is they did a complete total ban, and that is how the market was closed down between Kenya and UK in regards to Miraa product. So protectionism can also get to that point where we do total ban. Then we have import and export licenses. What we do for these licenses, the government can make them quite expensive to acquire. So that means you will not be able to acquire them easily. And then, of course, they will put other regulations to prevent you from just coming into the market and starting bringing goods. So it becomes a very costly affair. So barriers to entry are created. And the other one is subsidizing local industries. This allows local industries to operate at a lower cost, offering lower prices for their goods, hence being preferred to imported goods. And finally is on moral persuasion. Then as we wind up, we have the advantages of trade restrictions. What happens when we impose those quotas, tariffs? Number one is like local industries are protected from external competition, hence free to grow. Monetary restrictions generate revenue to the government. The other one is that it protects a country from harmful goods. So a country is protected from harmful goods, goods that can be able to affect them. The other one is that it enables a country to move towards self-reliance or towards depending on herself. And then another advantage is we avoid dumping. Dumping, I have said, is the way countries will just export and bring into a country the goods that in their place they have been deemed not fit for use. So they will take advantage of a market, an international market, that are not aware of what is happening. And finally is that it encourages the creation of employment, since local industries are encouraged to grow. And we have the disadvantages of trade restrictions. It denies citizens a variety of goods from the rest of the world. So when we get to a point where now we can impose the tariffs, these are the challenges that will arise. Of course, the variety of goods now will be limited. There may be high prices for locally produced goods. So there will also, we are saying will be an element of being exploited. And the other one is the shortages of goods may occur due to absence of external sourcing. The other one is a possible emergence of monopolies due to absence of competition. The other one is protected infant industries have a tendency of remaining young, hence calling for continuous protection. And the other one is a possible production of low quality goods due to absence of competition. So we may end up having low quality goods because the local industries feel that there is no one to compete with them. So they will not be really committed to offering the right goods. Now, on international trade, we also have what we call economic integration. And this is when countries come together to form what we call trading blocs. So we can have countries forming trading blocs in various forms. Number one is creating a free trade area. So that means member countries of a certain regional bloc are going to accomplish and relax tariffs and quotas. They are going to relax what you have just called methods of trade restrictions. And then they can also create a common market. Member countries in this economic integration form allow free movement of goods or of production such as labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So they create a common market. And finally, customs union. Member countries impose a common tariff of trade with non-member countries in addition to favorable terms of trade. So there are different ways that we can be able to approach economic integration. And we have the importance of integration. Of course, a wider market, we open the country to a wider market. Specialization by member countries is possible. This brings about effective utilization of resources as well as avoiding duplication of products. And the other one is that it promotes peace among people of countries involved as they integrate. Member states population is also able to secure jobs, so we open also the employment sector. And finally, specialization and competition among member states enables production of high quality goods and cheap products. So that brings us to the end of the topic on international trade. Of course, it is also a very wide and a diverse topic. I invite you to also read wide on international trade. There are a few other aspects that we can be able to mention on international trade.